this because some of you were telling me that I'm crazy and that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and do some movie magic for you and show you what you don't really get to see and what's being taken out of the imagery. Let's go ahead and let's play this. I pointed out before we could see the arm extending out. There's two nodes here where it connects, and we can see those in some of the imagery. Now we have the sun over here blasting Venus. We're getting the glare from the sun coming in, hitting the corrector plate, which is why we see the glare right in this area. Now, we have Venus and everyone's saying it's not moving, but actually Venus is moving up. The image is moving down, that little dot, they're moving synchronously. So if I go ahead and I superimpose the image of the corrector plate on here, now we're going to go ahead and shrink it down and put it in place. You can see right there. Now we have our little edge because the sun is shooting the light from here. We're hitting the edge of the corrector plate. We get the glare. There's nothing more to it. It's nothing more, nothing less. This is not the wagon wheel in the sky. This is not Nibiru. The object that we're seeing here, let me go ahead and bring this back. If we take a
and around. So what is this shield? What are we seeing here? Well, let me just stop that. I can actually simulate this also in Starry Night by turning on the lens flare effect. Okay, so now you can see that we've got this shield thing here. Now this one is created from the glare off the sun. In Starry Night I can't produce one off Venus, it's not part of the software, but this is a simulated lens flare from the sun, and it will show us the same thing. So as I move this around, you can see how that lens flare follows the sun. It's always pointing towards the sun, like that. It's always pointing towards the sun, and it gets brighter or dimmer depending on the position. Now this is actually what's happened with Venus as it's come into the field of view of the Stereo A Hi2 camera. It's giving, remember that Venus is a very bright star-like object. It's the brightest planet in our sky. The next brightest is Jupiter. So as Venus has moved into the field of view of the Stereo A camera, it is giving off this lens flare effect, and that is what we're seeing in these images. Now you might say to me, well, that's just BS, because why haven't we seen it before? Well, that's what some people.
At one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things. We lied about everything. None of it was true.
There are only three locations: heaven, the abyss, and the underworld. The abyss is negative space. It is a binary system fueled by the black sun, home of the Sith Lords and demons, which are beings of negative polarity. It comes down to the simple truth. Not a single image posted by NASA or any other Sith-owned operation or priesthood can be relied on. Instead, we have to rely on the information given by the Allies. And they say we do not see the planets as they really are, and that this war is between God the One and Satan, and God just one. The following information is from the Allies concerning how we make the leap forward. I will still be. This is an image of the Sith at the sun. They had complete control of planet Earth. No mortal man could fight them back. Any who didn't comply were killed. They owned the corporations which ran the sciences and education. And this is how they were able to lie about the true nature of space.
There's no
protection. It is an AI net Ra put around us to hold us captive. It is the origin of the Smith program, the holographic sky. NASA represents it on patches as an electron field surrounding Earth. The Greeks called it the 12 Ethers. This is not a camera lens. The rings are always on the side of the sun. The poles are inside, not outside, and when it's in motion, the planets go right off the screen. These are called the masts of polarity. Their purpose is to divide polarity among the populations. The negative polarity is drawn to the left mast. The positive polarity is drawn to the right mast. They flash in time with the sun's mast. At the time of the division of the families, the left mast is bound and the right mast moves off. That's why they called it the left-hand path of Sept. And why they told you there were only two paths, the right-hand path of God and the left-hand path of Sept. Another function of the mast is that extended, they act as a guide rail along the tracks, which allows the planet to leave its pole and fly independently. One of the things that Anne's New World Order did was use HARP to break off the masts on Earth in an attempt to sabotage our move. God and the Allied forces worked around this by repairing what could be repaired and bringing in a tow. Earth is shown at the top of our pole, which is called being T'd. We were in T- countdown to leave the pole that held Anne and the Asgartha tunnels. Elizabeth and the Covens and Rothschild have run a company store system on the people with the express purpose of stripping the cash from all the nations. They have been using our labor and our natural resources to build ships, to aid the to fight against the allied forces of mankind who are being led by one himself. He's come for his missing children. The other branches have come for theirs who are in human form. Time works differently here on this side of the gate. It's been approximately 100 years. On his side, it's only been closer to 10. He never forgot about us. After defeating Anne, he sent the entire fleet after us. On February 24th, 2007, all the arcs entered. As one large force, they started plowing the path. On the right side of the image is the mob. They are plowing down the poles as they get in the way. The illusion that this is a stationary object because it's always on the far side of the screen is just that. It's an illusion. This is Saturn confronting him. NASA cut 5 days off here.
holes that have been found in coastal areas and inland areas are actually objects being removed by anti-gravity traction with craft service Arcturians. You may notice the vertical lines left on the walls of the newly formed holes. No trace of explosion or impact of any kind will be found because it does not happen. Dozens of these old stations of defense are being removed because they are becoming unstable over the years. Signs of spontaneous activation were detected in some of them, and all will be withdrawn as a precaution. These ancient artifacts are over 14,000 to 30,000 years old, used to defend areas where there were humanoids colonies against some invading warlike races. There were many battles since 400 million years ago to protect the developing colonies when this planet was a hunting open area. Many hundreds of civilizations have been developed here, and only now the planet will gain its independence as a race. Your sun has entered another frequency, was stabilized by specialized ships, and after this process has spent time in a state of lethargy during this stabilization. Now it will manifest itself again and cause some chain reactions for the readjustment of the rest of the system. That does not mean catastrophe, means fine-tuning of the solar system as a whole. The solar system will be vibrating soon, all in the same frequency range. As many of you may be feeling in your own skin, the climate is increasingly changed. The geomagnetic protection of your planet is weakening very quickly, like a sine wave that will pass through zero to start the opposite cycle, so be prepared for the changes that will happen next. Your PTB at this time will not wait for natural changes to implement their agenda, so be alert.
The pit continued to move to its final position, and by February it was in place in front of the sun. There are a number of planet ships protecting us now, but two in particular are in orbit with us. They are maintaining a defensive stance against the Sith at the sun. The key to spotting them is to watch for the light flashing from their mast. As we watch the
Your PTB is losing control of the situation by incompetence of the machine fitted to perform all actions planned, including the economic holocaust of the system. Pleiadians reported that the three nations from your region called Asia, which are against the nations dominated by current elites, installed a system for generating scalar waves, much like the HARP system, orbiting the planet in several dozen points that covers the entire planet. In the case of being used for mass acts of depopulation, the system will be disabled and destroyed in seconds by probes that are on duty monitoring the whole process of activation. The Pleiadians already for some time are monitoring not only nuclear weapons, but any aggressor system that can be used to direct weapon against any region. Anyway, take great care, as the enemy of your enemy is not always served to be your pal. They can only occupy the old place to go to subjugate the people the same way, exchanging the old PTB by another equal or worse. By analyzing the current situation, and by the very poor quality of hideous people who predominate in your current elites, I believe anything can be better than those who still maintain economic power on the planet. Rest assured that this time not cowardly acts of one side or the other will be allowed. That goes for the two factions that vie for control, because here we are monitoring all movements in real time, and then we will have the expected order of interceding. I am unable to give predictions about regional events, but important facts may happen within the next 30 days in the Pacific Ring of Fire, and on mainland North America. In the coming days the Arcturians will be finalizing the dismantling of the base near the Canary Island and the base of Iceland, leaving the regions due to the nature from now on. The planet is teetering on the nucleus given the fragility of the geomagnetic field that is adapting to the new position that will hold by the next millennia, and it is messing with the climate and the beat frequencies of the planet. You will notice interference on your electronics, especially in image and sound during these adjustments. Many of you will notice these changes of beat frequency as a ringing in your ears that can increase and decrease during the day. Keep your attention on the planets of the solar system. Several strange changes may arise in the next 30 days. I showed up to talk about these issues quickly because we are helping several simultaneous operations on the system, and I have actually had very little slack. I hope to spend here more often, to keep the information up to date with you. Stay healthy and well, all of you.
If you've ever looked at NASA's official logo, both their official insignia and their official seal, you'll see that the most prominent object in the seal is a red swooshing object. They call that the chevron or the vector. If you ask NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal, they'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s, which was the time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo. And while you're at it, you can go ask the Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. Then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans, Taiwanese, Malaysia, Mexico, Iran, all of these countries, even Bulgaria. they all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. It gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And again, NASA's official story is that they put this number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space, because number 7 never did. Deke Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts. Yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carry this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program, the original Space Shuttle STS program patch is a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir space station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. You can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X Prize logo, Ames Research Labs, U.S. Space Command. When you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question really becomes, who or what are these people paying homage to? And the truth, quite frankly, is out of this world.
This painting, entitled The Madonna with Saint Giovannino, was made sometime during the 1400s. The artist's name is not known, but at first glance you can notice a UFO shape in the sky to the right side of the Madonna. If you were to see the original full-size painting, you would see the object clearly. Looking at the enlargement, you can see a man and his dog standing and looking up at the object. However, this painting has something else being depicted. On the left side of the painting, you see the sun and some vector-like objects seemingly flying from or toward the sun. Perhaps this artist was trying to tell us something. In another painting of the Madonna made by a completely different artist, the unusual patterns of the sun and the vector-like symbols have also been added prominently on the Madonna's cloak. You can see the same symbology on this painting as on the one before. This time, however, there is no UFO object to be seen anywhere in the sky. This footage was taken over Mexico City in 2002. There were many other videos and photographs taken of this same type of object, clearly resembling the shapes as seen on the visor of the astronaut, on the moon, and depicted in the 14th century paintings of the Madonna and Child. There is probably a larger story behind the vectors, but it is very unusual this symbology has been adapted by all the United States and foreign space agencies, especially enemies like Iran and others who are also making missions to the moon.
this is an
society. We were originally multidimensional beings that got downgraded. So upon his research of biblical texts, religious texts, he has found that there has been a common story that you can decipher from the metaphors being presented. And he's found out that the Anunnaki came down to Earth, and they weren't so much a reptilian race in their features, but they were more so associated with the symbol of the serpent because they had the knowledge of the double helix, the knowledge of DNA. So they were associated with this higher wisdom. They were master geneticists, they were scientists. And they did come to Earth, and they did alter our human DNA. And what they created was the first wave of, what we are now, these hybrid beings. These hybrid beings were called the Elohim. So the Elohim ended up being these divine beings, and they were connected to nature, but they also had the razor-sharp instinct of these extraterrestrial beings. So instead of paying servitude to their masters, they were too smart, and so they left Atlantis, where the Anunnaki set up and created Atlantis, which was an empire, and it spread out. But anyway, so the Elohim, the Anunnaki's progeny, if you will, left and created their own colony, which ended up being Lemuria. So these beings were highly advanced, highly intelligent, multidimensional. They had their connection to source consciousness, to their higher self. Their psychic powers were open. They had clairvoyance, telepathy, intuition. Their society was beautiful and friendly and loving. And they had advanced technology, crystal technology, advanced weaponry, eventually, and spacecraft. And their architecture, they had pyramids. I have had visions of pyramids and have had visions of spiraling architecture, which I think was used as some sort of energy vortex, something like that. And their architecture was in line with nature, because I think they knew that geometry, along with color, has a direct connection to consciousness, has a direct effect on consciousness. And that's why you see nowadays, everything's square, everything's dark, and it's a square, and it's just, it's not so pleasing to the eye. It keeps us very stuck in this box. So they lived in this beautiful society, and they were very peaceful, and the weapons came later. So the Anunnaki tried again, and they created their second wave of humans, which we know as the Adamic race, or the Adamu, Adam and Eve entering naked into the garden. Now, this is a metaphor that has been mistaken for something literal. Their nakedness is their ignorance. They've been stripped of their intelligence. These humans were stripped of their intelligence. If you want to look at it in terms of DNA, they went from 12 to 2, or you know how the theories go. So they were downgraded, dumbed down. And when the Lemurians heard about what had happened, they went and saved their humankind. And so basically a war broke out between the Lemurians and the Atlanteans, the Anunnaki. And weapons were fired, nuclear energy, something happened. And neither of the sides were expecting it, but this giant pole shift, the poles shifted in response to the war, and a great flood occurred. Now neither side was expecting this. The Anunnaki fled. And a viewer has actually messaged me on Facebook saying that she has had dreams of this flood, and she remembers running away from Atlantis or from Lemuria with her sister. So people have memories of these places, and These places are integrated, they're infused within our cell memory, and we can access these places and we can understand these places by meditating and going into ourselves. So that is the new rendition I'm presenting to you. And, you know, it might come as a little bit of an upset. Some of you might feel affronted by this knowledge that you have been tampered with, that your DNA has been tampered with, that you were genetically modified. But again, always look on the bright side and know that you have a plethora of junk DNA that is being activated, and we're at a very beautiful, beautiful time in our life, in the history of humankind on the earth right now, because, as you all know, on December 21st, 2012, our solar system lined up perfectly with the center, the galactic center of the Milky Way. So this marked the end of a 75,000-year galactic cycle, a 25,000-year planetary cycle. We went from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. We went from the Kali Yuga, the age of destruction and deception, into the Satya Yuga, the age of enlightenment. So, I don't know about you guys, but after 2012, I felt an extreme change within my awareness, and I will go into what that means energetically. So basically, this new cosmic energy that we're receiving is energetic radiation, and it's not only affecting Earth, but it's affecting our entire solar system. And we're receiving more solar energy than ever before. And there's more solar activity than there's ever been before. More than there has been in 8,000 years, to be exact. Solar storms, which used to take, you know, days or hours or days to shoot through our solar system, are only taking 15 minutes. The solar winds are getting weaker, on the other hand, which means the protective bubble of the magnetic field around the sun, the heliosphere, is shrinking. Everything is heating up in space. And this is affecting all the other planets. There are hurricanes happening on Mars. There are magnetic tornadoes happening on Mercury. Everything is heating up. Global warming isn't something that's happening because of man. It's happening as a result of this new zone of energy we're entering into because of the alignment of the planets and this new energetic radiation that's coming from the galactic center. So, if you look back 62 million years ago, you might discover that that was when the dinosaurs went extinct, but before that there was this drastic climate change that occurred. Every 62 million years, sorry, I don't know if I said 1,000, but every 62 million years we have this drastic climate change, and it's due to the planets, it's due to the cosmos. So this isn't something that's isolated to Earth, this climate change. It's happening as a result of the cosmos. The vibrations are rising, so there's more heat, time is speeding up, and this is changing our DNA. This is changing the universe. We are an intrinsic part of the universe, and we are changing with it. So what does this mean? Basically, we are returning to our divine state of awareness, to our multidimensional state of awareness. We are going to be able to easily tap into source consciousness. What does this mean on an intellectual, sort of scientific level? Let's put away all the New Age stuff just for a moment. In layman's terms, the best way I can describe it is we are actually able now to receive and perceive more light. So let's think about what light is. Light is energy. Light is information. We receive this light, and this light is electrically interpreted in our brain as meaning. And we take this meaning. It gives us energy to think. These thoughts create action. These actions create our mood, create our life, create happiness, determine the quality of our life. So with these higher dimensional frequencies available to us now, this is creating a brand new level of energy, an expanded state of awareness, and we're able to use this energy, this expanded state of consciousness, to think new thoughts. More light equals more energy equals new thoughts, innovative ideas, more creative capacity, which in turn leads to amazing action, a brand new world, a brand new life, more power. This new dimensional frequencies, these higher dimensional frequencies, these cosmic rays which are altering us along with the rest of the solar system, they're affecting our minds, yes, but they're also affecting our energetic bodies. So in my opinion, through my own experience, after 2012, I felt my heart center open up. I felt so much love coming from my heart, and that's why I started making these videos. I couldn't contain my love anymore. I had to share it with the world. So our energy centers are being opened up again. We're returning to what we were supposed to be, energetic spiritual beings, and this is affecting our brain, but it's also affecting us on an energetic level. So it's affecting our pineal gland, hence why I'm wearing my bindi. So as I was saying, I came out here to make this video and I had forgotten to wear my bindi today, my sticker bindi, so I was innovative and decided to take a little bit of a fern and put one on my head with some saliva. So, ooh, we got some sun now. Anyway, so as I was saying, this new information, these higher dimensional frequencies, are activating us on a physical level. They are activating our DNA and changing our bodies, but they are also opening up our energy centers and opening up our third eye. So the third eye, the pineal gland, is a literal eye. It's photosensitive, it has a retina, it has cones and rods, and it allows us to envision, to see, to dream, and create these wonderful images within our mind's eye. It is filled with water. This gland actually has more blood flow than any other gland in the human body. It's a very special place. It's a little pine cone shaped gland, for those of you who don't know what it looks like. And inside of this tiny little chamber, David Wilcock has suggested that there is actually a zirconium diamond within this chamber, and it acts as a literal transmitter, you know, like in a radio. So the pineal gland seems to be this stargate. It is your gateway to the cosmos, to your higher self, to your multi-dimensional state of being. When you are in the dark, your pineal gland is activated. It creates melatonin and DMT. When you meditate, when you're in these visionary states, that's when your pineal gland is activated. So in the dark, in complete darkness, that's when your pineal gland creates an electromagnetic field around itself, a shield, if you will. When this happens, you lose your reference for space-time, so you don't know where you are. And then you can enter into time-space. So people talk of these visionary states where they leave their body and they travel out through their third eye, or out-of-body experiences. People say they travel out their third eye and they see the silver cord, and this is completely real. This is where the silver cord exits from, and then, you know, you go out your body and the information gets sent back through this silver cord. So these are real experiences. The pineal gland is a very important gland. It is our connection to our multidimensional self. Now I feel this knowledge has been kept from us for a long time, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about how important it is, and share with you a little more information that David Wilcock has presented and put forth. So I was watching one of his lectures, and he said that our eardrum is actually tilted forward in our ears, and this allows for 3D recording. And the inner lobes of our ears are very unique. They have sacred geometry principles that line up exactly with the angles of the Great Pyramid at Giza. So, very interesting information. They're actually coplanar with a tetrahedron, and the center point is the third eye. The exit point of this tetrahedron is the third eye. So when you're lying down, imagine what this looks like for a moment. You're lying down, and this tetrahedron turns into an actual pyramid, your third eye in the center. This is your vortex. This is your connection to everything. So it's so important to be going with the flow and allowing what's happening to happen, to be keeping ourselves clean and healthy, to be removing toxins and fluoride so this natural process can happen. So the pyramid with the eye, it's very strikingly similar to the Illuminati symbol we see on the American dollar bill, the pyramid with the eye. Now, I used to think that this eye meant, you know, the eye of Saturn and all this Saturn sort of deception. But now I'm realizing that everything is pointing to the pineal gland. This pyramid with the eye represents the pineal gland open, the state of illumination, the state of enlightenment. This pine cone imagery is prevalent everywhere. You see the Pope with his staff, and there's pine cone imagery in it. And at the Vatican, there's the Court of the Pine. This is what these secret societies worship. It's the pineal gland. There's no, there's nothing to fear. What we have to be doing now as a society, as a people, is connecting to our consciousness and focusing on opening up our pineal gland, because this will return us to our divine state of enlightenment and awareness. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste.